The night a teenage girl I barely knew tried to get me arrested over my Wi-Fi password. I had 3 violation letters in my mailbox, a patrol car in my driveway, and my HOA president on my lawn. Talking about me withholding community resources, by the end of that same week, that same woman was voted out in front of all our neighbors, and all I had really done was say one word. She was not used to hearing. It sounds ridiculous, Wi-Fi and TikTok and HOA meetings, but if you've ever lived under someone who feeds on control, you know. It never starts with something big. It starts with something so dumb, you're almost embarrassed to stand your ground. And if you don't, they learn you are easy. My name is Luke Carter. I'm 30. I work from home in software security, and I moved into Cedar Glen Reserve for the brochure version. Quiet streets, neat lawns, strong community. You know what I mean. I grew up being the kid people pushed past, so my adult survival rule was simple. Follow the real rules. Pay what I owe. Keep my head down. The problem with that plan was Denise Holloway. Early 40s sharp bob blazer, like armor clipboard. Welded to her hand, the HOA president who walked our cul-de-sac like every driveway was her jurisdiction. First week, I watched her snap a photo of an old man's porch because his wind chime didn't match the approved look. Another time, she lectured a delivery driver for obstructing sightlines because his truck idled too long. Everyone grumbled, but paid afraid of what would happen if they pushed back. I recognized that energy from a mile away, so I stayed invisible. Lawn-trimmed trash cans. Hidden porch plane. Just another dude with a laptop, and for a while, she barely knew I existed. Then, one Thursday doorbell. 3 sharp hits like a warning. I opened it to see Skylar, her 16-year-old daughter, phone in hand, browse, already annoyed. "I need your Wi-Fi password," she said. "Hello. I thought she was messing with me. Come again." She flipped her phone so I could see a TikTok upload frozen. "My mom cut my data. I have to post. I can see your network from my room. Just give me the password. It doesn't cost you anything." The way she said it, like it was owed, hit a nerve. I kept my voice steady. "That's not going to happen. It's my private connection. Talk to your parents." She blinked, offended. "Are you serious? It's just Wi-Fi?" "Yeah," I said, "my Wi-Fi." She scoffed. "My mom runs this neighborhood. Starting a fight with us is a bad idea." Then walked off across my lawn. That line sat with me. Next morning on my way out, I checked the mailbox, found a letter on Cedar Glen letterhead, signed by President Denise Holloway, accusing me of refusing reasonable shared resource access and failing to demonstrate cooperative community spirit, hinting at a compliance review. Around noon, second letter, saying I was creating discord with youth residents. That evening, third letter tossing around possible legal consultation regarding withholding services. 3 letters in less than a day over a Wi-Fi password, all dressed up like law, all built on nothing. That night, I laid them out. Pulled up the bylaws, went through them. Shared resources were the pool park greenbelt. Nowhere did it say sacrifice your internet to TikTok. It was bluff pressure costume authority. Normally, that would be the part where I sigh, give in, and tell myself peace is worth it. But something in me was done. Next morning, 9:02 doorbell. Again, same kid, same phone. "Last chance," she said. "Give me the password so this doesn't get worse." I took a sip of coffee. "My answer hasn't changed." She rolled her eyes. "You know we can get you fined, right? You're literally refusing public utilities." Wi-Fi is not a public utility, I said. She hit call, put 911 on speaker, and reported that her neighbor was withholding public utilities by not giving her internet. Standing there listening to that, I had this out-of-body second like, is this real life? The dispatcher asked if there was an actual emergency if the home had power, water, gas, and when she said yes, they warned her about misusing the line and said an officer would come by. She hung up, glared at me. "You are such a jerk," and stormed off. 15 minutes later, a patrol car rolled in, and every curtain in Cedar Glen twitched. Officer Malik walked up. "Morning, you Luke, mind telling me what's going on?" I explained short and straight, the demand, the letters, the call. Before I finished, Denise marched over in her blazer. "Officer, I'm Denise Holloway, HOA president. This resident has been refusing to cooperate with community standards and harassing my daughter." Malik looked at her like he'd seen the type before. "Ma'am, my understanding is this is about Wi-Fi. It's about community," she said. "He's hoarding connectivity." He shook his head. "Ma'am, his private internet is his property. There's no law requiring him to share it. And your daughter used 911 improperly. That can't happen again." You could almost hear the crack travel through her composure. I said, "Those letters you sent me are not in the bylaws. This feels like punishment because I told your kid no." Skylar muttered, "Snitch," under her breath. Malik turned to her. "This is a warning. Misuse of emergency services is serious." A couple neighbors were on their porches now, Mrs. Alvarez across the street quietly holding up her phone. Malik wrapped it up, told Denise. The HOA had zero authority to force me to share Wi-Fi. That if this kept up, it could be considered harassment on her part. Handed me his card. Said, "Document everything," and drove off. Denise leaned in. "You have no idea who you're picking a fight with." And for the first time, I didn't shrink. I said, "I think I do." That should have been the point where a sane person backed off. But pride is louder than reason. That evening, the video Mrs. Alvarez shot went into the neighborhood group chat. No commentary, just Denise arguing with a cop about my router, while half the street watched, and suddenly all the little stories people had swallowed started to line up. The next morning, I got a call from Mark Benson, the HOA vice president, a tired voice. "Luke, we need to address what happened. The board's calling an emergency meeting. Can you bring those letters and make a statement?" When I looked at the envelopes on my fridge, at Malik's card. Thought about every time I'd let people walk over me to keep the peace and said, "Yeah, I'll be there." 3 days later, the community center was packed, no balloons, no snacks, just neighbors in folding chairs staring straight ahead. Mark played the video so everyone heard Malik say, "My Wi-Fi was my property," and the HOA had no authority. When it ended, Denise jumped in. "This is twisted. I was just encouraging cooperation. My daughter misunderstood." Luke blew it up. "You all know the standards I've upheld." Paula from the board flipped open the bylaws. "Denise, there's nothing here that lets you demand a resident's private services. There is language against harassment and misusing your position, and these letters to Luke are not backed by anything we approved." Mark nodded at me. I stood up, heart pounding, but done being quiet. "I moved here to be a decent neighbor. I follow the rules. Your daughter came to my door and demanded my Wi-Fi like it was owed when I said no. I got 3 letters suggesting I could be punished for guarding something you invented. Then she called 911 and said I was withholding public utilities. That's not community. That's abuse. And then something I didn't plan for happened. Other people spoke. Mr. Lawrence talked about fines over chalk. A couple mentioned threats over one overnight guest parking on the street. Someone else about getting warned for leaving a pumpkin out. Different details. Same tone. You could feel the room turning. Denise snapped. "I've kept this place from looking like a junkyard. If you want chaos, fine. Strip me of my position and see what happens." Mark didn't even raise his voice. "I move that we remove Denise Holloway as president of the Cedar Glen Reserve HOA effective immediately for abuse of authority." Paula said, "Second," and when he asked for a vote, hands went up fast. It wasn't close. "Motion passes," he said, just like that. The title she'd hidden behind was gone. Denise stood eyes burning. "You're all making a mistake. You'll regret this. You'll hear from my attorney." And Paula replied, "You're free to do that, but as of now, you do not speak for this community." No dramatic applause, just a long breath. Everyone seemed to let out at the same time. I walked home under the same lights, but it felt different, lighter, like the street finally belonged to the people who lived there, not one person with a clipboard. I sat down, logged into my router, changed my network name to a small private joke that reminded me exactly where this started and what line I drew. And here's what I keep thinking about. I didn't ruin her life. I didn't go after her kid online. I didn't do anything wild. I just said no to something that was wrong and then refused to back down. When she tried to turn that into a crime, I showed up once in a room full of people and told the truth. And once one person did it, everyone else finally did too. Some folks later told me I should have just given the password to keep the peace. Others said the board should have banned her from the HOA completely. Some say it was just Wi-Fi. Others say it was never about Wi-Fi at all. It was about power and who gets to pretend they own you. So let me throw it to you. If you were in my shoes, would you have shared your Wi-Fi and stayed quiet, or drawn the same line? Do you think I went too far, or not far enough? Have you ever dealt with an HOA, a boss, a relative, anyone who hid behind a title to push you around until someone finally said no? Drop your thoughts in the comments, tell your own stories, argue with me. If you want, hit, like if you believe boundaries matter, and share this with someone who needs to hear that saying no does not make them the villain. Because sometimes that one small word is exactly where real justice starts.